All right, so have you ever felt that sting, of being ignored, especially by someone, you actually care about?
It's such a universal experience, isn't it? Like this little voice in your head whispers, did I do something wrong?
Exactly. And today we're going to dive into some seriously insightful stuff from this life coach about how to flip that painful experience into, well, like a chance to level up, reclaim your power.
Yeah, the source material is really fascinating. What I find interesting is how this whole being ignored thing can actually be a launch pad for
Yeah.
like some serious personal growth. It's like this unexpected opportunity to tap into, well, that stoic strength.
Okay, I'm ready to unpack this. Where do we even begin?
Well, the source starts with something called the power phrase.
The power phrase. Okay, I'm intrigued. What is that?
Basically, think of it as like your personal mantra, a phrase you repeat to yourself to help shift your perspective, reclaim that emotional control.
Like a mental reset button.
Yeah, exactly. Instead of spiraling into that, self-doubt, you have this phrase ready to reframe your thinking.
I like that. So does the source give us any examples? Like what kind of phrase are we talking about?
Oh yeah, for sure. They suggest a few, like, I am worth more than their silence, or, their silence doesn't define me.
Wow, those are powerful. And what I love about those is it's like saying, hey, their silence is about them, not me.
Right. And that's exactly the shift in focus we're going for. It's like the starting point of true empowerment. And the source actually takes this idea even deeper into like embracing independence.
Okay, now this is where it gets really interesting for me. Because we talk about independence a lot, but what does that actually look like? When you're in that situation, feeling ignored.
Well, the source encourages us to visualize this.
Yeah.
You stepping into your own spotlight. Like you're no longer tethered to someone else needing to validate you.
Oh.
Yeah, you're free to choose what energizes you, what goals you go after, what relationships you nurture. It's about, discovering the joy of, well, relying on yourself.
It's like they've unknowingly given you this key to unlock like this whole new level of freedom.
Exactly. And with that freedom comes the chance to, well, rediscover yourself. The source calls this reclaiming your identity.
Reclaiming your identity. Ooh, that's like deep. What does that even mean?
Well, think of it as like an archaeological dig. You're carefully uncovering those parts of yourself that might have been buried, under the weight of someone else's indifference.
So it's like dusting off those old treasures, remembering who you were before this whole being ignored thing took over.
Yes, exactly. And that's where the source introduces this bold strategy, the cold reset.
Okay, cold reset. I'm all ears. What exactly does that involve?
It's basically taking a deliberate step back. It's strategic, to create space, reclaim your energy. It's like drawing a line in the sand. And on your side of that line, peace, self-respect, and a whole lot of me time.
So it's not about playing games. We're trying to get their attention back.
No, not at all. It's about setting healthy boundaries, prioritizing your well-being.
And I imagine that absence can sometimes speak volumes.
Oh, absolutely. And it gives the other person a chance to really, feel the impact of that absence. Now, while you're creating that space, the source recommends finding like a powerful distraction.
A powerful distraction. This isn't about numbing yourself, right? Or like escaping reality.
No, not at all. It's more about, channeling that energy into something that really ignites your passion, fuels your growth.
Okay, I see. So what does that look like in practice? Does the source give us any examples?
Oh, yeah. They talk about like diving into a fitness journey, picking up a creative hobby, or even, finally starting that side hustle you've always dreamed of.
Oh, I love that. It's like taking all that energy, that you're pouring into this other person
Yeah.
and redirecting it towards, well, something that makes you feel alive.
Exactly. And here's the beauty of it. You're doing it for you, not for anyone else.
So it's like this, like win-win. You're taking care of yourself A&D moving forward.
Precisely. And to really drive this point home, the source actually shares these inspiring stories of people who did exactly that. Like there's this woman, Sarah, who took that pain of being ignored and, well, she turned it into this whirlwind of personal growth. It's a really inspiring example of how to, turn a negative experience into fuel for positive change.
Wow. So what did she do?
She channeled her energy into like exploring new hobbies, she committed to a fitness routine, and she even launched a successful side hustle. She became like this force to be reckoned with.
That's amazing. So it's like she took control of her narrative.
Exactly. And there's another story about a guy named James. Instead of letting, heartbreak consume him, he decided to level up his skills, build a stronger version of himself.
So both Sarah and James, they shifted their focus.
Yeah.
From seeking validation from someone who wasn't giving it to creating a life they actually loved.
Yes, and what's striking is, they became magnetic, not by chasing attention, but by actually living authentically.
Okay, that's powerful. So it's not about waiting for someone else to make you happy. You create your own happiness.
Exactly. And that shift right there, that's where true strength lies. It's almost like they've inadvertently given you this crash course in Stoic philosophy.
Ooh, I love that. So like finding that inner peace, regardless of what's happening externally.
Exactly. The Stoics believed that true strength is about controlling your own thoughts and reactions, no matter what the circumstances are.
That's like so relevant to what we're talking about.
Right, and that's what this power phrase helps you do. It gives you that sense of agency in a situation where you might otherwise feel, well, powerless.
It's like a reminder that you are the author of your own story.
Exactly. You get to decide how you respond to challenges, how you define your own worth, and, how you move forward. And that brings us to the next important step in this journey: finding a powerful distraction.
Okay, we touched on this briefly earlier, but I think it's worth circling back because, it's such a crucial step.
Absolutely. It's not just about, keeping your mind occupied. It's about strategically redirecting your energy towards something positive and empowering.
Like turning their silence into rocket fuel for your own dreams.
I love that analogy. And the source actually provides some fantastic examples of what this can look like in practice. Like Sarah, who we talked about earlier, she threw herself into fitness and, transformed her heartbreak into, physical strength and a newfound sense of confidence.
Right. And then there was James, who used his time to develop new skills and expand his horizons.
They both took that pain and they turned it into this catalyst for positive change.
And that's the beauty of this approach, right? You're not letting their actions define you. You're defining your own path forward. And as you do that, you start to realize their silence doesn't have to hold you back. It can actually be a springboard for incredible growth.
It's all about perspective. Instead of viewing their lack of attention as a reflection of your worth, you see it as an opportunity to invest in yourself.
And that investment, it can take so many forms. Maybe it's picking up that creative hobby you've always wanted to try.
Yeah, maybe, finally launching that side hustle you've been dreaming of.
Or maybe it's just, dedicating more time to nurturing those existing passions, those relationships that already bring you joy.
Exactly. The key is to find something that truly lights you up, something that makes you feel alive and energized. Because when you're engaged in activities that bring you joy and fulfillment, well, it radiates outward.
People notice that energy.
Right.
It's far more magnetic than any amount of attention seeking.
Exactly. It's the kind of energy that draws the right people, the right opportunities into your life. And while you're busy creating this amazing life for yourself, something interesting happens.
What's that?
The other person's silence, it starts to fade into the background.
Because you've shifted your focus.
Yes. You've realized that your happiness, it doesn't depend on them.
And that is so empowering.
It's the moment you reclaim your freedom and step into your true potential. So if you're finding yourself struggling with being ignored, remember this: you are not alone.
And this experience, it can be an incredible catalyst for growth and transformation.
Embrace the silence. Use it as fuel for your journey. And watch as you turn your pain into a force that nobody can ignore. And as we kind of dig deeper into this whole idea of reclaiming your space, the source introduces this concept, they call it the cold reset.
Ooh, cold reset. Okay. This is where things start to get really interesting for me. So what is that? What does it involve?
Well, think of it as hitting the pause button on the whole situation, giving yourself that chance to, regain your composure, I guess, and see things a little more clearly.
Yeah, like creating some space for yourself.
Exactly. It's a really powerful way to reclaim your energy and, focus on your own well-being.
Okay, so how do we actually do that? What does a cold reset look like in practice?
Well, the source, they encourage us to, find a powerful distraction.
A powerful distraction. Okay, I'm curious. But again, we're not talking about mindless escapism, right? You're trying to, make the other person jealous.
Right. No, it's more about, channeling your energy into something that genuinely excites you, something that, helps you grow, helps you evolve.
I see. So it's like they've inadvertently given you this gift almost. The gift of time and space to focus on yourself.
Yeah, exactly. And what you choose to do with that gift, that's up to you.
So what are some examples? Does the source give us any ideas?
They do. They talk about, maybe finally diving into that creative project you've been putting off.
Oh, yeah, I love that. Like that painting you've been wanting to start, or that, screenplay idea.
Or maybe reconnecting with old friends.
Yeah.
Or exploring new hobbies, The possibilities are endless.
Yeah, totally. And the key is to find something that, well, really nourishes your soul, something that brings you joy.
Because when you're engaged in activities that, bring you joy, bring you fulfillment, it radiates outwards.
People notice that, right? That positive energy is magnetic.
It is, and it's far more magnetic than, any amount of attention seeking. It's the kind of energy that draws the right people, the right opportunities into your life.
Okay, so while we're busy, creating this amazing life for ourselves, focusing on those positive things, what happens to the person who's been ignoring us?
Well, that's the interesting part. There's silence, it starts to fade into the background.
Because we've shifted our focus.
Exactly. You've realized that, your happiness doesn't depend on them.
And that's, so powerful.
It is. It's the moment you reclaim your freedom and step into your true potential. So if you're finding yourself, struggling with being ignored, remember this, you are not alone.
And this experience, it can be an incredible catalyst, really, for growth and transformation.
Embrace the silence, Use it as fuel for your journey. And watch as you turn your pain into a force that nobody can ignore.
I love that. So much wisdom packed into that one concept. And, the source, they really emphasize that this isn't about playing games. It's not about trying to manipulate the other person.
Right. It's not about revenge or anything like that. It's about, taking care of yourself.
Yeah, putting yourself first.
Drawing a line in the sand and saying, hey, my well-being matters.
Your peace of mind matters.
Exactly. It's almost like creating, a sacred space for yourself where you can, recharge, reconnect with your own inner strength.
I like that. It's like building a little sanctuary. And it's interesting because I think, sometimes when we prioritize our own needs like that, it can actually have this positive ripple effect on the other person even.
Oh, absolutely. Think about it. When you're constantly chasing someone's attention, it can actually, push them further away.
Yeah, I can see that. It's like they can sense that desperation almost, and it creates this resistance.
Exactly. But when you step back, when you create that distance, it gives them the space to breathe, to reflect, and to potentially realize what they're missing.
It's like taking the pressure off the situation, allowing things to just, unfold a little more naturally.
And sometimes that's all it takes for a dynamic to shift.
So even if it doesn't, lead to this grand reunion or a sudden change of heart, that cold reset, it's still a powerful act of, self-love.
It is, because you're choosing to honor your own needs, your own boundaries.
You're sending a message to yourself and to the universe even, that you deserve to be treated with respect.
And that is a powerful message worth sending. And while you're, creating that space for yourself, the source also reminds us to, fill it with something positive, something empowering.
Yes, we talked about finding that powerful distraction earlier, but I think it's worth, diving a little deeper into what that might actually look like in practice.
Yeah, for sure. Well, the source, they highlight a few common themes, like, diving into a fitness routine.
Oh yeah, a classic. It's a great way to release endorphins, boost your confidence, feel good in your own skin.
Exactly. And it doesn't have to be anything extreme, Even a brisk walk in nature can do wonders for your mood.
Totally. What else?
Well, another popular choice is to pick up a creative hobby.
Oh, I love that.
Whether it's painting, writing, photography, anything that kind of sparks your imagination, creativity can be incredibly therapeutic.
It's a way to express yourself, explore new ideas, tap into your inner child.
And the source also encourages us to consider, pursuing a side hustle.
Ooh, a side hustle. That's a good one.
This one can be especially empowering, I think, because it allows you to tap into your talents, your passions, while potentially generating some extra income too.
So it's like win-win-win. You're feeling good, you're pursuing your passions, and you're potentially making some money.
Exactly. And the beauty of all these distractions really is that they're not just about filling the void left by the other person's silence. They're about, rediscovering yourself, expanding your horizons, creating a life that truly reflects who you are.
I love it. And in that process, you might even find that their silence, it becomes a gift almost.
A catalyst for incredible growth and transformation.
Like they inadvertently handed you a map to your own personal greatness.
Here for that. So Embrace the silence. Use it as fuel for your journey. And watch as you transform your pain into a force that nobody can ignore.
And remember, you are not alone on this journey.
There are countless others who have walked this path and emerged, stronger, wiser, more resilient than ever before.
So keep going, keep growing.
And keep believing in your own incredible power.
Because the world is waiting to witness your brilliance.
Oh, I love that.
Me too.
Yeah.
It's like they've given us this permission slip almost to turn this situation into a positive force in our lives.
Exactly. It's not about, dwelling in the pain or waiting for them to change. It's about taking ownership of our own happiness.
Yeah.
And creating a life that feels, authentic and fulfilling.
And as we do that, we might even find that their silence becomes a gift, like this catalyst for some serious self-discovery.
It's like they've inadvertently handed us a toolbox, for building resilience, building strength.
And it's up to us to use those tools wisely.
Now let's talk about those, inspiring real-life stories that the source shares. People who took that sting of being ignored and turned it into something, remarkable.
Oh, I love these stories. They're always so encouraging. They remind us that we're not alone in this.
The first one is about this woman, Sarah, who found herself, heartbroken and confused, after someone she cared about just suddenly went silent.
Ooh, yeah, that's tough.
She spent weeks, even months, trying to understand what went wrong, why they were pulling away.
It's that agonizing feeling of what did I do wrong?
Yeah.
That can really eat away at you.
Exactly. And as she was, grappling with all those emotions, she came across this advice about finding a powerful distraction.
Oh, interesting. And for her, that turned out to be fitness.
Fitness, yeah, exactly. She channeled all that energy, that she was putting into trying to fix the situation, into pushing herself physically.
Okay, so she hit the gym.
Yeah, she started working out regularly, setting goals, challenging herself in new ways. And as she got stronger physically, she noticed this shift, in her mindset too.
Ooh, I love that. So she felt more confident.
More confident, more resilient, more in control of her own life, yeah. And the best part is she discovered this passion for fitness that, she never knew she had.
It's like the pain she was experiencing actually led her to something that, truly lit her up.
It did. And then there's this guy, James, who had a similar experience actually after going through a painful breakup.
Okay, so he was feeling lost, heartbroken.
Yeah, he was devastated, feeling lost, unsure of how to move forward. But instead of, dwelling in that sadness, he decided to take, a more proactive approach.
So what did he do?
He started focusing on, developing new skills, things he'd always been interested in but never had the time or, the motivation to pursue.
Oh, interesting. So what kind of skills?
He signed up for classes, attended workshops, really immersed himself in learning. And as he was mastering these new skills, something really interesting happened.
What was that?
He started to see himself, I think, in this new light.
Oh, I like that. He was leveling up.
Exactly. He realized he was capable of, so much more than he'd given himself credit for. And that newfound confidence, it radiated outwards.
People started noticing his positive energy, his drive.
And new opportunities started to open up for him.
It's amazing, how these stories illustrate that. What might initially feel like a setback, a failure even, can actually become this catalyst for incredible growth.
It's all about how we choose to respond to those challenges,
Do we let them define us, or do we use them as fuel to become even stronger?
And the source,
Yeah.
they emphasize that these stories, they're not just isolated incidents, They're proof that this kind of transformation, it's possible for anyone.
So it's like a reminder that we all have that power within us to turn our pain into purpose.
Exactly. And by sharing these stories, the source is essentially saying, hey, if they can do it, so can you.
And that's a really powerful message, especially when you're feeling, lost and uncertain.
It's a beacon of hope, reminding us that even in, the darkest of times, there's always a path forward.
And sometimes that path leads us to places we never even imagined.
So, if you're feeling that sting of being ignored, remember this: you are not alone.
And this experience, it can be this incredible catalyst for growth and transformation.
Embrace the silence. Use it as fuel for your journey. And watch as you turn your pain into a force that nobody can ignore. And as we kind of wrap up this whole deep dive, there's this one powerful concept, the Source brings up, and I really want to explore it with you. It's this idea of forgiveness.
Forgiveness. Ooh, yeah, that's a big one. And it can be so challenging, especially, when we're feeling hurt, betrayed even.
Absolutely. And, the Source acknowledges that. It's not about saying, oh, what happened was okay, or, condoning their behavior. Not at all. It's more about, well, freeing yourself from carrying that weight, that resentment and bitterness.
Yeah, it's like choosing to put down this heavy burden you've been carrying so you can finally, move forward with a lighter heart.
Exactly. And the Source really emphasizes this point. Forgiveness, it's a journey, not a destination. It's a process that unfolds over time.
So it's not like you just flip a switch and poof, you've forgiven them.
Right. It takes patience.
Yeah.
And, a willingness to truly let go.
And I imagine it's not always linear, is it?
Oh, absolutely not. You might have moments where, you feel like you've made progress, and then suddenly you find yourself, backsliding into those old patterns of anger or resentment.
Totally. It's like learning a new skill almost. There are going to be setbacks along the way.
Exactly. But the key is to keep practicing, to keep reminding yourself that, forgiveness is ultimately a gift you give to yourself.
It's about releasing those negative emotions so you can create space for, healing and peace.
Right. And it's important to note, forgiveness doesn't always require reconciliation with the other person.
Oh, that's a good point. Sometimes the healthiest choice is to create that distance, to move on.
But even in those situations, you can still practice forgiveness, within your own heart.
So it's like letting go of that need to be right, the need to punish them or for them to acknowledge their wrongdoing.
It's about choosing peace over bitterness.
And that choice, that's powerful.
It is, because it allows you to, reclaim your power and move forward with grace and resilience. Now, the Source doesn't really delve into specific techniques.
Right.
For practicing forgiveness.
Right, but I know there are lots of resources out there for anyone who wants to explore this further.
Oh, for sure. Therapy, support groups, even spiritual practices, they can all offer guidance and support.
Yeah, absolutely. The key is to find what works for you and to be patient with yourself.
Because forgiveness is a process, and it can be, messy and uncomfortable at times.
But as the Source reminds us, the rewards are immeasurable.
They are. When we finally release those negative emotions, we create space for love, compassion, true healing.
That's beautiful. So for anyone listening who might be struggling with forgiveness, remember, you are not alone.
Reach out for support and trust that you can find peace within yourself.
So as we wrap up this whole deep dive, what key takeaways are you hoping listeners will carry with them?
For me, it's this reminder that even in the most painful experiences, like being ignored, there's always an opportunity for growth.
It's almost like those challenges are forcing us to level up in a way.
Exactly. And we've learned some really powerful strategies, haven't we, for navigating these situations, like using a power phrase to shift our mindset, taking that cold reset to create space, and finding a powerful distraction, something that truly fuels us.
Right. And ultimately, it's about reclaiming our identity, remembering who we are at our core, and building a life that reflects that truth.
It's about taking back our power, choosing to define our own happiness.
And that's a journey worth embarking on.
It is. This has been, an incredible deep dive filled with so much wisdom and insight. Thank you for having me.
Oh, thank you for being here. It's been a pleasure. And for all our listeners out there, remember, you are not alone on this journey. There's a whole community of people who understand what you're going through, and they're cheering you on.
So go out there, embrace your journey, and never forget the power that lies within you.
You are capable of creating a life that is truly extraordinary.